For your calendar.
They were coming out at 6:41.
Okay, everybody, just to be clear with you all.
If
I
you could
agree.
speak up, I'm sorry.
I agreed, I tried to resign in July, that didn't work. I gave them a written resignation in August saying I would stay until October 16th or until somebody was found who could take over the job. That's what I agreed to. One way or the other tonight, no matter what happens, I'm done. I'm gonna give my keys to Debbie here, and I'm leaving. Okay? Now, the law says that you need to have a superintendent. If you don't have a superintendent, the first thing that goes wrong is that next week, there's nobody to sign the payroll checks, the accounts payable checks, that sort of thing. You can't use, even though the computer prints my name, you can't use my signature as not superintendent any longer. So that's a problem. That's a big problem. Now, some people think that the state is going to send you a superintendent. So I called the deputy commissioner, and asked him about that. He told me they got it on their business, they don't send you a superintendent. Linda, contacted him, and she has it writing from him in an email. They're not gonna send you a superintendent. What they will do is, if you find somebody who is qualified, they will help you by maybe making that person an agent. Now, an agent can do some of the things a superintendent can do. Okay? So, for instance, there's been a lot of talk about Dr. Crumley. He's a nice man, a good member of your community. And if he was willing, the state would make him an agent. But he isn't willing to do that for any length of time, is what I'm saying. People here talked to him as recently as 2 days ago. He doesn't want to be directed.
Well, here we go.
I don't know of anybody who works for the school, but maybe you will know people more than I do. So you would know if there was some senior administrator retired here in town who might be willing to be the agent. But I don't know of anybody, and I don't know if these people do either. So what's gonna happen here is these people have to make a decision. When they make the decision, that's fine. I'm done at that point. I am gonna stay here and make a report because there's some financial stuff that I need to tell you all about that's really important. So I'm gonna tell you about that before I go, okay? But my anticipation is that in a very few minutes, I will no longer be your superintendent. Gary Lights.
I was a superintendent in Winthrop. Winthrop they've had 4 superintendents since I've left. It's a town that eats up superintendents. It's a difficult place to work. I worked there for almost 7 years. And I was the longest serving superintendent for the previous 20-year period. I did what I needed to do. I was very effective. Yes, we had some issues, but there is not a school district in the state of Maine or in the country that doesn't have some kinds of issues throughout the term of a superintendent. I got into a little situation down near the end of my tenure. The board had just gone ahead and contacted Drummond and Woodson, the law firm for the state, and had them do a review of my behavior and the allegations that came out. As a result of that, I was completely exonerated, and I have a letter in my packet that went to all of the board members here from the previous board chair saying that, and and talking about the quality of the job that I did. From that perspective, I'm willing to come here and do what needs to be done to reinvigorate, if that's the word we want to use, the school department here. And work with everybody. I have real problems, as I know every one of you does, with things that are in the newspaper that may or may not be true. We have that scenario going on in our country right now. And I'm not trying to cast anything away. I'm just saying, it seems like if somebody hears something that they don't agree with, they immediately take that as gospel. And I think you can't do that. That's one of the reasons that this country has the difficulty that it has today. And I'm just trying to be upfront. My plan is to drive up here from Damariscotta. That's where I live. It's about a 2.5, 240-minute drive on Wednesday, leave to go home on Thursday, and I'm willing to give you 110% of everything that I have. And I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't feel like I could make a contribution. And that's what I've told the board members, and that's what I've told the screening committee, and that's what I've told Mr. Clark, during our conversations. There are always going to be some people who are doubters, and I get that. But, one of the things that I said to the board was, if you have concerns, give me a 1-year contract. In December, January, when you review that contract, if you want to extend it, you can extend it. But it would be a short-term contract that would give you an opportunity to let me show my true colors. That's basically what I have to say, and I appreciate, the people that I've talked to in this building, I would tell you have been as supportive as I think they can be, not knowing me. The board has been supportive. Again, same thing, not knowing me, but they've been supportive. So I'm willing to move forward and do what needs to be done to support this town. I was in a difficult town before, and I survived. I'm not saying this is a difficult town, but, we've all heard some of the commentary, but I'm willing to go to bat for everybody here and do the very best job that I can, and I appreciate your support.
And we need to make a motion to hire.
Can't hear you.
So, I don't know if y'all read the letter from saying that they will not send us a superintendent. However, it says at the bottom, the school board fails to elect a superintendent by June 30th. So that's not a mistake. The school may appoint a competent and qualified agent with the advice and consent of the commissioner to serve in that capacity until superintendent is elected. As I don't know everything, but I kind of want the board to know, I was thinking, we have one person that I can think of in this town that has done our budget, and if we are able to elect, and if she is willing, I would also have to put maybe she would be willing, and that would be Kirsty. I know your job is hard, but I think you're the only one who's ever done our budget and able to sign checks. I don't know if we have anybody else, and I just think I'd be, I think we could do this.
So we need a motion to go go ahead with hiring of the board.
Karen. I know she can speak up. She's a Gilmore.
Mr. Jonathan? You make a motion. We're not voting yet. Make a motion. Make a motion. Okay, everybody in favor? Again, nay? Abstain?
Hiring the principal. Kevin, I don't know.
Billy, you're no? And we got 2 abstains. We're 2-2.
Go. We can't hear him to stop with, so.
She's not here.
Voting him in.
Is it possible to know what's happening? Because we can't hear you guys.
Okay, the vote was tied.
I've never been to any meeting where people can't hear what's going on.
I've never seen a vote like this in 30 years, so we're all
Okay.
confused, okay? I'll be confused, but that's okay. The vote was 2 in favor of hiring Gary, 2 opposed to hiring Gary, and 2 abstaining. So at this point, they haven't elected a superintendent. So it's a moment in time.
We haven't elected or they
But I would like to, just for information, maybe the meeting is over already, but I would like to be able to make my report before I leave. Because I think I have important things to say to you, okay? This isn't about whether I'm a bad person, it's about money. You're all happy with money. Anna has been after me for a long time, thinking that there was money missing, had to be money, she wanted, she did a freedom of access request. I've given her some documents, she wanted more, so I gave her more documents, and in the process of, Anna probably thought I was doing nothing, but I've been looking and looking and looking. And in the process of that, I stumbled upon this on the state website. Do you know about this thing?
There's more they're not missing.
The state website says that there were 3 different waves of COVID money. Okay? The first 2 waves of COVID money, Jackman got all the money that they were due. It went for whatever it was supposed to go for, and that was good. Then there was a 3rd wave of COVID money, the biggest wave of COVID money. It was called the American Rescue Plan. And remember, Congress was talking about it. Jackman was allocated $304,889. Okay, now that money, Jackman has only been reimbursed $62,000 of that money.
We can barely hear
Yeah,
you.
we-
Jackman was only reimbursed $62,000 of that money. So what happened was the money wasn't stolen or anything like that. Jackman, because you had to apply to the state, so let's take the truck out there as an example. They applied to the state, they got permission to buy the truck, this money. They bought the truck. The truck's out there. They just didn't go back and draw down the money from the state to reimburse themselves for the money that they had spent. They spent local money, and then they didn't draw down the money from the state out, to reimburse themselves for what they did. Now that means that there's about $240,000, according to the state website, that is owed to Jackman, or I say Jackman, it's Jackman News Rivers, to the school district. for this alone. There's also other monies that weren't drawn down, chapter 1 money, chapter 2 monies, there's all these different federal programs that we deal with. I don't have any idea what the total was yet, okay? But I do know that there's a pile of money out there. So you're probably not gonna like this, but what I did was I contracted with that to work for us, drawing the money down. That has already gotten $32,000 sent to us. Okay, don't hold your head down, you know, because he's the only person I could think of who knew about all this.
That was his job.
He didn't do it.
He didn't do it.
Yeah.
And we just, he didn't do it when he was in the position to do
So
it.
are we listening to
And he
me?
didn't pay her 2 salaries to do it, he didn't do it.
Dude, I get to talk, you've got the next 10
We
years,
don't know,
I guess.
we don't know, you drove him out, he didn't do it.
We get-
And he
you
should have
know,
done it before.
You got the next 10 years to
We
figure
drove him
out.
out, he didn't get the
I
money.
know, he should have done it before, and he did not.
Will you guys listen to me for a moment? I'm gonna just stop talking. Yeah, I just wanna make it clear how this all works. So that you can follow up as you go forward here, okay? Now, when you think about the way things went in Jackman, starting with COVID, Kirsty had a personal problem that was huge, and then Greenville took over, and then Thad got involved, and then Cheryl got hauled, you know, this has been a train wreck right from the beginning, okay? But in any case, the money didn't get drawn down. Now, I had a choice. I could try to figure out who was responsible and blame them, or I could try to get the money. We only have until September 30th to get the money. We have until September 30th, but we only have until September 30th to get the money. If we don't get the money by September 30th, we don't get it. So I didn't think that I had the ability to say, well, let's think about this, let's find some deserving person to go out and do this work for us, okay? I had to go with what would work. And like I say, we've already gotten 32,000 of this. So there is a pile of money here in the American Rescue Plan. There is other money. If I was gonna stay here, I would expect that at every school board meeting, I would be expected to tell you what the status of this is, okay? You want this in?
I would love that, thank you.
You know, and I don't even know how I found this page on the
And you
state
should have been doing it
website,
right along.
okay?
And when he left, he didn't say anything.
I
You guys
understand that.
protected him, yeah.
Like I say,
I don't.
you can assess blame after you get the money, but my advice is, get the money and then worry about who you're gonna blame, okay?
Well, it's not just the blame, it's more money.
I understand, but get the money, because you only have a limited time to get the money, you need to get the money.
How much money is going to, how much money
What'd you do,
we pay
Kirsty?
him to do this?
$10,000, 5 now and 5 when he gets the money.
Are you kidding? Can I just ask, is he done filling out the forms? So he's put in the request for all the rest of the money we've owed?
It's a process, because you can't do them all at once, is what I understand. Okay, so the first.
Is that true?
put in Got us $32,000, and he's continuing to do that. Okay. So my thought, get the money first, figure out who's to blame later, and that's what we've got to do.
I agree with Gary, and I do appreciate you recommending the president, I really do. And I'm gonna go back to first district meeting, when I got up to everybody and said, transparency. When we looked at the budget, we knew there was something wrong. You could clearly see that we kept trying to find more money, but all the time, we haven't been looking at our revenues. That's what I don't understand, for 3 years, we weren't looking at the revenues on the board side, on your side. That's your responsibility as a board, to know your revenues are there, the person who's doing for your revenues. I know that weren't you, Gary, the whole time, but the board does have some responsibility. I've read other boards' minutes, other towns, they always go through their revenues, every single month, and they go through their expenditures.
Honestly,
And so
this-
that, I have to say, when I said transparency, you all got mad at me, but it was obvious in the budget, when for 3 years, you've gone up, up, up. You were covering for something, but not having money.
This
He did
all,
his job.
if I can say something in my own defense, because I know you don't like me, but
Down.
this all happened before I ever came here. This is from 2022. I started basically in the last week of the 2023 school year. So this all predated me, and in my wildest dreams, it never occurred to me that, you know, they wouldn't have drawn down the money. I mean, as a superintendent for 30 years, one place or the other. as superintendent, I've never had to think about drawing down money, it always just happened, okay? It's not something that you, as superintendent, you sit around and talk about every day, it's just something that happens. And that's all there is to it. So I've set in motion the process, which you may or may not like, but which will bring you the money. And, you know, you can figure out what to do. This money, the board can't spend this money, okay? The $32,000 that came in, the board can't spend that without a vote of the town. So if we get into the spring, it's April of 2025 now, and they're running short of money for this, that, or the other thing. They can ask for a special budget meeting, it's called, and they can ask the town, can we take some of that money and spend it on this thing? Okay, that is something the board can do, but they can't just decide, well, we got money now, we're gonna hire an extra teacher, we're gonna raise Quentin's pay or whatever. Quentin's not gonna be here to have his pay raised.
They
But
can't,
that's-
you can't do that right now.
They can't do
They
that.
can't.
Well,
Is that a rule of the state or?
no, it's just a town rule. They can only spend the money that you voted to spend at the district meeting. Okay? So they can't spend the money without the vote of the people.
No.
Okay, so you would have to, like I say, April 2025, run short, they come to you, they make a case, and you people vote yes or no to spend the money. Then they could spend some of that money, because you should wind up by then with a substantial amount of money in surplus. Which then the question will be how much gets applied to next year for taxes and so forth and so on.
Well, thank goodness the community got involved and got you to find that information and sat here and got demonized for it.
Yeah.
We're not trying to hamstring the school, we're trying to get things straightened out so it can work better.
Yes.
And
I
we're
can tell you,
we're getting dragged through the mud because of it.
I would
And you're
never
assuming we
honestly-
hate you,
I've
it's not that,
It's
it's
wrong.
that we hate the system and how it's been working.
Thank you, well said.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know you, so
Well, I've been feeling a lot of hate lately, but I will tell you this, you know, Anna's been on my case, and that's not a good thing. But if Anna had stayed on my case.
Yeah.
Find the money.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Anna.
What really got me stirred up was the preschool program, and then we started digging deeper. So, thank you for finding that money, thank you, the board and everything. We're a community, we're a great community, and we just all need to work together to make sure we head in the right direction and things are done correctly.
Dedicate the town report to her next year. Now, there's
No.
2 people have had their hands up, you first.
Is Mr. Lacoste training our bookkeeper, our current bookkeeper, on how to pull the money down
No,
for future references? And is there
He's
any
the only one.
plan going forward to teach somebody in this school district how to do that?
well, I think now, I don't know that anybody ever told her that that was something that happen, okay? I have no idea how that went down, I wasn't here. I know that a few months ago, for the 2023-4 school year, they drew some money down. Okay, I know that.
They mean who?
That would have been, well, Thad would have been working with the bookkeeper, but
So she should know how, right? Or at least the start of the process?
should at this point,
But she doesn't.
well, I'm not saying she doesn't, I'm saying you should. at this
She's not
point.
doing her job then.
Well, I'm not saying.
There you go.
You keep saying,
Things in the video.
yeah, I'm not going.
So will the board be addressing the fact that our current bookkeeper is not fulfilling her job description?
She isn't a topic of discussion here, so.
For future,
Especially
maybe?
personnel.
You can request it, to be on the agenda.
Thank you.
I
10 days
leave.
before.
You're next, you had your hand up.
I heard you say that was 22 money?
No.
So is there 23 and 24 money sitting out there
Well, it's
too?
22 and 23 money, and I knew they drew some down in 24, but I am not 100% sure they drew it all down, so I wouldn't guarantee that
So
they
who's
did.
gonna check that if she's not qualified to check that?
Well, this is why you need to have a superintendent, and you need to coop on that. I'm gonna be on here in 5 minutes.
I understand that.
I don't have time to figure
But
that out.
how do we get confidence in the new superintendent to check those things if they weren't checked to begin
First
with?
of all, you gotta hire a superintendent.
Forget that.
Then you gotta ask the superintendent, and again, I would go back to every month.
Have you ever dealt with this?
Yes.
he has.
So you know
That
how to
was
do
my
it.
question
Thank you.
for him.
Yeah.
That's my question.
And one question of clarification. So you're saying that we have until the end of September to get 22 money?
22 money.
So we have another year to get 23 money if it exists?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
All right,
Now,
thank you.
This is all at the state, it's all very murky, okay?
Yes.
But right now, we gotta get the 22 money, and the 22 money includes this big number. The
Okay.
23 number won't include that big a number. Okay.
But we don't necessarily know that yet.
We don't necessarily know that. Okay?
Ah,
So there's only, I mean, I'm gonna be here now for another 5 minutes, there's only so much I can do for you, but I would be asking your superintendent at every meeting, and I'm sure the board will be asking it regularly. When you bring in, you know, the superintendent's report in every meeting, I would have expected, and this is why I'm doing this, I would have expected the superintendent would stand up and say, this is how much money we've got. Now, these $200-something thousand may not be you cannot plant your flag on what the state website says. But as I understand, again, I talked to Thad, he thought it was at least $125,000. If it's $10,000, it's too much to leave on the table, okay? So you need to get the money first. Once you've got all the money, if you folks want to decide to figure out who's to blame and call them out, go for it. But wait until you've got all the money.
I'm sorry. Could I say something? When we go
letter that I've already read to him that says
what
missing
we're
$300,000.
looking at, what you're looking at.
I'm gonna read it to the
is
public.
what
I don't care if they
focus
all
on
leave.
For us to spend. That's what those monthly financials are. And we probably are remiss because we did not have a true accounting of federal monies. You have to spend money and then you have to ask the federal government to give it back to you. So it's always a stretched out process. And probably it's true, we didn't follow that closely enough. But the monthly financials that we do are based on the budget that's been voted by the town, not federal monies or other kind of monies.
Then I suggest you ask for financials.
Used to be included.
Where I know my revenues, I know my expenses.
So you guys have some idea what the questions are to ask. I've done my bit, I'm going home.
Thank you. Thank you.
Drive safe.
Go ahead.
So my question was actually for Mr. Rosenthal.
What?
My question was for Mr. Rosenthal.
Yeah.
I looked and saw that in 2016, there was a $700,000 shortfall in Winthrop, and I believe this man fixed it. So
Yes,
I
I
don't know
did.
if that would help this board. I was hoping you could address that question, because currently, that's why we're all involved here, is we're concerned about lack of financial transparency, where is the money, find the money. You addressed that.
We
and
had a situation where the town assessor, who was very sick at the time, made a $700,000 mistake.
Right.
And we took, as a school board, because he transposed numbers, we as a school board, or as a school board and me as a superintendent, we took responsibility for that. We worked with the auditor and we got that money paid back. It took us about 3 or 4 years, but we got that money paid back so that everything was legal and everything was legitimate.
Towns didn't collect enough tax money.
Right.
I remember this spec.
I remember
And so,
reading about it.
but you know what, I could have just let it go. But you know what, I felt like it was imperative that we take care of business. And so, I have quite a bit of experience in terms of financial management. But again, that was something that had to be done.
So are you aware of what we're up against here? And do
I
you feel like
absolutely
you
am.
would be able to help us fix it?
Well, I that's what I've told you, I would love to. Yep.
I can't remember what she told me, but she answered, and she said something about him, that they had him. See, that's the problem. They have a meeting, but they don't want to be here.
So for those of you that are still here, I don't need to address the board because they've already heard this. This is gonna be a difficult read. The first time I did this, I had my husband's hand in mine. In August of 2022, I sat with you after I was asked to try teaching special education. Knowing full well I was not fully qualified, the superintendent presented this opportunity and I saw it as something I could try. The superintendent and you, the school board, agreed to my contingency that if teaching wasn't for me, I could have my position back as the administrative assistant. One that I had been away from after the birth of my second daughter for over a year. Leaving the familiar was a scary choice, but I took it, knowing my option to return was there. In January of 2023, I approached the superintendent and let him know I was 85% sure I was not going to return to my teaching position the following year. To put this in perspective, Mr. Lacoste was the superintendent at the time. I expressed my disconnect with the job and how I really had passion, education, and experience as the administrative assistant. I felt that's where I was needed and more beneficial to the school. I sought advice from other school special education teachers because the internal support was non-existent. I felt judged within the walls and made to feel stupid when I asked questions, as if I should already know everything about special ed, the ins and outs of. I found that my workload was unbalanced and my time away from my children was becoming more and more to meet the needs of paperwork and the learning curve. In addition, this decision had come from this was back in 2023. In addition, this decision had come from watching the financials of the school over the last year and a half. Financials that were not properly managed, reported, or understood. Financials that still had my name tied to them. Even though in October of 2022, a new bookkeeper was brought in. In fact, since July 21st of 2021, the day my second daughter was born, 2 outside people had been brought in to help with the finances of the school. But my name, my email, my passwords were all still being used to operate. Of course, the intent was for me to return after my leave. But even to this day, this is in 2023, my name is still listed as the administrative assistant to the superintendent on the official school webpage. This is obviously. In January of 2023, I requested to see the financials of the school I was home with my daughter. To my surprise, not a single deposit had been made in our financial system since I had left. When I returned in August, I was even more surprised to see that no bank reconciliations had been completed, and even more, not a single dollar of federal funding had been requested. Almost $300,000 had been spent, but not received or drawn down from the Department of Education. I assisted the superintendent's office for a couple of days and was able to reconcile multiple months and request around $40,000 of these funds. However, due to teaching duties and time constraints with requests, this was all I was able to accomplish that September. I was not asked to help again. In fact, I was told repeatedly that the new person would finish requesting the funds and finish the reconciliations. When the audit report was reviewed earlier this year, I was surprised to see that there was still hundreds of thousands of dollars of federal funds missing. After this, I go on to resign my teaching position. I know Jasmine just mentioned my name to act as an agent. I'm well aware that the current school board does not like me, but I'm also well aware that I did my job and I did my job well. So well that I attained a master's degree and am now conditionally certified as a superintendent, and I'm willing to submit my application.